Hello, my name is Veronica Brown, and I will be presenting my research paper over the coronavirus for Health and Wellness 1003. In January of 2020 on New Year's, we had no idea what was coming for us. The coronavirus was already heading our way, and we had no clue about it. The coronavirus came in and everywhere shut down for a period of time. You weren't able to go anywhere if it wasn't considered essential, which essential means grocery store. Basically, in home, you were supposed to be in quarantine. And when the world did kind of open back up, you had to wear masks everywhere you went. And we haven't been normal since then. So let's take a look at where the coronavirus was originated from. The coronavirus was originated from a wet market in China. A wet market is where you have a lot of species in one building and you could get them slaughtered right then and there for you to take home to your family to feed them. And when you have a lot of species in one building, you have their urine, their feces, their blood, and everything just kind of running together because nobody's really taking the time to clean up the mess after whatever happens. So when the coronavirus was detected in patients, all the patients had one thing in common, and that one thing in common was the wet market. All of those patients had visited the wet market in China, and all of them then had the coronavirus. After they discovered that, COVID just started spreading everywhere. COVID first hit Europe in January of 2020. And that's when they figured out that this was about, and it started hitting the headlines. After it started spreading from China to Europe, the coronavirus started spreading everywhere worldwide, country by country, state by state. In March of 2020, COVID first hit Georgia. I'll never forget, I was in my history class, and this came about, and we had an email saying that it has hit, and with not too long after that, 2 people on our campus had gotten it. So then colleges went home, schools closed. Never did we think that our spring break would not only be a break, but the end of our semester for spring, for face-to-face classes until the next semester. Coronavirus happens to be an RNA virus. An RNA virus is highly contagious, and it has their different genetics from other viruses. They are really contagious, so if you come into contact with somebody, more than likely it is really easy to pass to you. Along with this, coronavirus has a lot of symptoms ranging from headaches to shortness of breath. You can have a headache, fever, chills, muscle aches, body aches, fatigue, vomiting, shortness of breath, and loss of taste and loss of smell. When some people lose their taste or smell due to COVID, it can take from anywhere to a couple of days to 3 months to get their taste and smell back. And sometimes their taste and smell is never fully restored, so they're is not going to its full potential of being able to taste certain things or smell certain things like you did before. People who have health issues can take a really hard hit from all the symptoms associated with coronavirus and just by contracting the virus, period, because when COVID enters the body, it interacts with your health issues already, and it just can cause a big chaotic thing inside your body. So it's best that we try to avoid the coronavirus at all costs. Along with time, there was not only the original COVID strand, but the COVID had 2 more strands added, which was the Delta variant and the COVID pneumonia variant. The COVID Delta variant was detected by the CDC to be 50% more contagious than the regular strand. The COVID Delta symptoms seemed to be more severe than the regular COVID strand, and the Delta was easy to pass, and you were easy to come in contact with, develop those symptoms way before you could with the original strand. Then COVID pneumonia came. COVID pneumonia has been rough for individuals who have come in contact with it and had it. COVID pneumonia was considered one of the worst strands there was. People would end up in the hospital on ventilators and in comas, and that had been the most packed of hospitals since the first wave had hit. And some people with health issues that have COVID pneumonia, like if you have diabetes or anything in that category, it would just be so tough on your body and cause everything in your body to flare up, even conditions that you didn't know you had yet. If you had come in contact with COVID pneumonia, you would then see that you had it because it made it flare up. COVID pneumonia, people who have had it, sometimes when they get back, they never really restore to their full potential of their body as a person. COVID pneumonia is rough, and it has taken so many people's lives. It can be dangerous. I know because it took my grandfather from me, and that's why it's a must to try to keep us safe. Which brings me to my next topic. When they saw COVID wasn't getting any better, just like any other pandemic or any other thing, they decided to make a vaccine. They have two types of brands of vaccines that are good, and they have one that was not so good, which we'll get into that later. So the two vaccine brands are Moderna and Pfizer. And the Moderna, it is recommended only for the ages of 18 and up, and it's 2 doses, and you get them 28 days apart. And after those 28 days, you wait a total of maybe 6 months before you can go get a booster, which a booster is just a way to make your shot more activated, as you would say. Pfizer is also 2-shot session where it's 28 days apart, and they recommend you to wait 6 months before your booster. And the booster can be any other COVID vaccine there is. The third brand is Johnson & Johnson. Johnson & Johnson was put out, and it was stating that some people died from the vaccine, and it had 6 cases where people who received Johnson & Johnson vaccine had a rare blood clot, and they couldn't figure out why or how, so they kind of set it back for a minute. And the Johnson & Johnson was only 1 dose, and just only after 2 months you could go get a booster, which would be any other COVID vaccine shot there is. And so they are still coming up with research about the vaccine and how you should get it and what age you should be to get it. Pfizer, however, you can only be 12 years and plus to get it. Rather than Moderna, you have to be 18. But with the booster for Pfizer, they recommend that you be 18 or older. And if you have any health issues, they recommend that you get a third vaccine, which is not considered the booster, but a third dose of whatever vaccine that you receive for you to be more able to do things and not get caught up so bad if you were to get it. So that brings us to our next thing, prevention. It is best that we try to prevent COVID in all ways, and right now they are considered staying away from large crowds, always mask up when you go out, and to get vaccinated and to wash your hands frequently, and just stay away from people. Only go places if you have to. If you were to contain COVID-19, you should quarantine for 10 to 14 days and not go around anyone. And if you have been exposed, you should start your quarantine and get tested around from day 3 to 5 to see if you test positive for it. And the best way that we can prevent this is if we all do our part. COVID-19 is on the rise again. However, as of today, they have found a new strand that is upon us. So the best thing we should do is to take every measure that we can to prevent it, and we can just go from there. Our lives have changed forever. Who knows if we'll ever go back to the normal world again. The best thing we can do is to just do our part. Thank you guys for listening.